We left off the last video having seen how to add input parameters to our event handlers. So we could see that we defined this event parameters type up here. We used this type when we updated the name of our author and set the parameters, and we could then use these parameters in our listener to the event and print those out to the console. What I want to tell you in this video is how you can add so-called shallow event handlers that you can add and then also remove during the course of your program. So to do that, we are going to split the code up that we saw here into a number of different lines. So first of all, we're going to say let handler function, and this is going to be a function of two parameters. The first one is going to be, we're going to call it sender, and that's going to be of type object. And then the second parameter is going to be our well-known input parameter. And this needs to coincide to whatever the type is that we're expecting from our parameters. And in this case, we are expecting event parameters type, like that. And we're going to say that this function is the exact same as we defined before. So we just want to take that functionality and put it in this well-defined function. Now that we've done this, we can define a new variable, myHandler, that's what I'm going to call this, equals, and then this is going to be of type handler. And this one expects a type here, which needs to coincide with our parameter types, in this case, event parameters. And it takes a function, specifically the handler function that we just provided. So the handler function tells us what to do. And this handler is then a wrapper for the function that we can add to our event. So we have this now, but we need to, instead of using the function add, we need to use the add handler function. And then here we can provide the myHandler that we just defined. The reason why we need to change from add to add handler is the add function just defines a functionality that we tie to our handler. And this add handler defines a handler that we attach instead. Now the handler is a wrapper for the function, so they're very similar in practice, but the handler can be detached from the event, but the function itself cannot. So the add function, once you use that, you cannot simply detach the thing that you added. Here, however, with the add handler, we will be able to do that. So we can see that we add this, and if I just execute the code, we should be able to see the same functionality that we had before. We haven't really changed anything in terms of what we expect as the output of this. And just to verify that, I'm going to run the code. So we can see that the output here is what we got in the last video as well. The old name was Dan and the new name was Andy. And just to verify the behavior, if I add another printout here, so let's say we rename the author to Bill once more, I'm going to execute this. And as we would expect, we can see, since we have our handler hooked up, that it recognizes both of these updates. So this is nothing new compared to what we've seen before. We see that first, we had an old name of Dan, we updated that to Andy, and then as a second step, the old name is now Andy, and we updated to Bill. What's interesting is if I add another row where I remove the handler, and this is where really the key of this video is, we can use the function remove handler like this. And what it's going to do is it's going to detach the handler that we defined from the event, and we would not expect to receive any updates. So if I execute this a final time, we'll see what we get. You can see now that the last output disappeared. So we only have the first update recorded here, and that's because we detached the handler from the event. So that's how you can use handlers and monitor things for some amount of time, but not throughout the entire course of your program if you want to.